Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another episode on the Hermitcraft server. It is episode 75 and today we're going to be having a slightly more chilled episode on the server simply because, as you guys know, recently I have been having a few issues in the mouth department. I don't know if you guys have seen the vlog that I uploaded on Wednesday, but essentially I have got a whopping toothache. Seriously, it's absolutely enormous. For the first 3 days of this week, I was unable to move, completely unable to move. I pretty much stayed in bed the whole time. I was shaking all over the place. I was sweating just due to the pain. It was a really horrible experience. I went to the dentist and they said that I need root canal treatment, which is going to be great fun. But the good news from going to the dentist is that I'm now filled to the brim with painkillers, which is definitely helping the pain from the tooth, but it's not exactly helping my brain particularly very well. So if I say some interesting things during today's episode of Hermitcraft, just pass that off as the painkillers taking their effect. But anyway, in today's episode, we're going to be doing a bunch of really fun bits and pieces. We're actually going to be working over in the community builds area, which is something that I've wanted to do for a very long time indeed. So let's just pop into this chest right here, somewhere over here, and pick up all of the items that we chucked in there and start working on some of the projects. So this is the tunnel that we created in a recent episode of Hermitcraft that is going to be taking us from the industrial district over into the community builds area, and we're going to be working on that in today's episode. I've actually got a really cool design in mind that was sent to me on Twitter, and I'll try my best to recreate it. I might fiddle with it a tiny bit, so I'll probably show you that in the redstone testing world shortly. But one thing that I just want to say is that I've just tweeted out asking for ideas of what to build in the community builds area, because of course this place is for your ideas. And all I'll say is that sometimes the ideas that you guys come up with, I know they're crazy, okay? I ask you guys to come up with crazy ideas, but sometimes they're a little bit too crazy, but in the wrong way. I mean, people are asking for fully functional Pokemon Go and fully functional redstone computers. Now that sort of thing, okay, number one, is ridiculously complicated, and number two, would take up this entire area, if not much more. So unfortunately, when I ask for ridiculous builds, I don't mean that sort of thing. I mean the sorts of things like a working slime block launcher that will launch you into a toilet. That's the sort of thing I'm looking for. I've just read that on a YouTube comment. I think that sounds like a nice idea, and we're definitely going to be building that in today's episode. But first off, I think we need to start work on the tunnel. So this right here was the tunnel that I created in the previous episode of Hermitcraft. As you can see, it's a relatively simple design. This is the one that goes onto the community builds area. Of course, that fits that sort of style. And then this is the side for the industrial district. And looking back, I mean, this looks horrible, doesn't it? What a horrible combination of blocks. We've got the bone blocks, we've got the red stained clay, we've got the stone slabs, and we've got the sandstone. It's not particularly nice. So I'm very glad that we didn't decide to build that one. Instead, we're going to be building this thing over here. Now, this was designed by Silvercat0009, and I have to say, it is absolutely stunning, if not a tiny bit complicated. I've just spent the past 45 minutes reconstructing this thing in my redstone testing world, and I only built one module of each thing. Hopefully, I'll be able to build it faster now that I know what I'm doing, but this is what it looks like. And it looks really cool. So this is the industrial district side. You can see we've got all of the blocks fitting in with the theme. We've got the sandstone, we've got the redstone lamps, we've got the fence posts, we've even got some chests involved as well, which look really cool. And then if we pop on through to the community builds area side, we have got all of the blocks once again. All of the dark oak fences, we've got the acacia wood, and it's a similar sort of theme, but it sort of works and it matches up. I mean, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. So I hope you guys like it, I hope you enjoy the design, and this is what we're going to be building on the Hermitcraft server. So the first thing that I'm doing is clearing out the extra space required for all of these fancier designs. We need an 11 block wide area to create a 3 block wide tunnel. Yes, I know it sounds ridiculous, but there we go. Whoa! By the look of things, the bone barn has been doing well. We have got 9, 18, 20, 22 diamonds, and that's shared between me and Wells. I should have done that years ago. As far as my resource gathering is concerned, I've picked up a lot of items from the drone, and I'm now in the process of looking over the leftover items, just trying to find some of the basic stuff. Things like tripwire hooks to make the trap chest, because this is going to involve around about 36 chests, and a handful of trap chests as well to create those chested walls. And then also we need some bone meal, so that we can make the white stained glass, and other than that, I do believe we should have just about everything. There's only going to be 2 sets of each one of the modules. There's going to be 2 sets of the sandstone modules, and there's going to be 2 sets of the acacia wood modules. It's quite a short tunnel, but it's going to involve quite a bit of work, especially as I can't find any of the things I need. Everything has been gathered, and I'm now in the process of chucking in all of the blocks, and I have to say, I'm a little bit worried about this. As you can see, we have got the first 2 modules planned out, and then we are now moving on to the acacia section, and we need to go 1 block there, and then we need our 3 acacia wood, and that is going to mark the end of the tunnel. We're 2 blocks short of the wall, which means that we're going to have to do a bit of terraforming. I think that's the best way of doing things. There's no point in adding in another module because that will take us out to here and that will look a little bit silly. So I guess we're going to have to do a tiny bit of terraforming, but this is going to be the length of our tunnel. Can you believe this much work is going into this tiny little section here? It's absolutely ridiculous, but I have to say, I do think it looks really, really cool. So I'm very excited to see the end product. This is the industrial district. There better be some red stained clay somewhere. I need 2 more bits. I've got a ton of wood though. What? I've been looking for wood this entire time and it's in this chest here. But still, no red stained clay. None. Absolutely none. Just no luck whatsoever. I really don't want to jinx it, but I feel like I'm getting into the swing of things here. We're placing in all of the chests. That's good. They all look pretty cool. Hopefully I haven't miscalculated how many chests I'm going to need. So we should need 3 trap chests there, 3 trap chests there, and then the rest of our chests, we've got 7 left, which means we are absolutely perfect. Now all we have to do is chuck in all of the glass panes, and that will be pretty much the first half of our tunnel all done and dusted. And I have to say the process of building this thing has actually been relatively quick, simply because we planned it for so long. That always seems to be the way. The longer you plan for, the shorter your build actually is, but of course that means you have to dedicate more time to the planning process. So this area is now done, apart from obviously the flooring area. Now we have to start work on the acacia spot. So now we have to completely change up our design. We're going to have a ton of stone slabs, a ton of the dark oak fence posts as well to match up with the fence design that we have going on over here. And in theory, it should end up looking just as good as the first half. At least we know that that's going to be the case because we've already seen it in the redstone testing world. And with these final few blocks to go, it is all completed. There we go. There is the tunnel that is going to be taking us from this area over here, which is incredibly dangerous, over into the industrial district, which at this point in time is also pretty dangerous because I still haven't lit up the area around it. But I have to say, even though I can't go inside the tunnel right now, it looks pretty awesome, doesn't it? I mean, I'm really happy with A, how smoothly this project has gone because of how well I planned it, but B, just how cool it looks. It works really well in that area. I'm glad that it fits so perfectly as well. We have 2 modules on either side with the perfect little band in the middle. It just looks cool. It looks really, really cool, and it hasn't drained all of our resources. And I just want to ask you guys, which side do you prefer? Do you prefer the sandstone side, or do you prefer the grey side on the opposite end of the tunnel? Let me know down in the comment section. I'd love to know your opinions. Me personally, I think I prefer the sandstone side just because I love the chests in the wall. That's something that I've never really seen before in a tunnel, and it's definitely something that I'm going to do at some point in the near future. But anyway, we have got a tiny bit of terraforming to do on each end of the tunnel to make it look a little bit nicer, but other than that, it's pretty much all completed. This is just another really quick time lapse to display that I am terrible at terraforming. Just absolutely awful. I seem to just come into the area, mess up everything, and leave it behind looking sort of natural, but also sort of destroyed as well. Now, I know you guys have asked me to get either Scar or False Symmetry to help me out. I probably am going to have to do that at some point in the near future because a lot of my base needs quite a bit of work. But for now, I would really appreciate just a little bit of advice down in the comment section on what I can do to make things look a little bit better. So first off, I want you to comment which side of the tunnel you think you like best. But more importantly, I need help with terraforming. Just give me any tips you can possibly give. That would be greatly helpful. After a little bit of terraforming, this is what we've ended up with. Now, it's not perfect, but it's definitely going to do the trick, and I think I'm done with the tunnel for today's episode. So we're going to be moving on from that one, and we're going to be starting work on some of the community builds. Now, I have to say, one thing that we are definitely going to have to do before we do any community builds is we're going to have to do quite a bit of lighting up in this area right here, because right now, this place is looking pretty lethal. I mean, we've got 4 creepers, we've got a handful of spiders, and just earlier on, there are a bunch of zombies as well that seem to have pathfinded over towards me, which is definitely not what I want while I'm working on the builds that we're going to be doing there. So we're going to crack on with that one. Then I'm going to take a look on Twitter and also read through a few of the YouTube comments and see what builds you guys have been coming up with, because I've been seeing some really, really awesome responses that I can't wait to start work on. No, I've just terraformed this. No! Oh, that was close. That was close. Oh, I got so worried then. I thought he was going to take out the hillside that I've literally just constructed. Now, I know that Mr. Exumbervoid now has a rather nice witch farm, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that there is some form of shop in the industrial district that sells all of the witch mob drops. Now, I'm not 100% certain on this. There is a chance that there is no such thing and I'm completely making it up. But I imagine he's done that. I mean, why would he not? So hopefully I can find some glowstone around here. So I've chosen to use sea lanterns instead, simply because I can actually buy those things and I've got no way of getting large quantities of glowstone without going into the nether, which you guys know I absolutely hate. The only issue is that sea lanterns cost 6 diamonds for every single stack. I've got to cover this entire area right here, and the only way I can really organize them is by placing them in like this. So we have one sea lantern that's lined up with this area right here, and this lines up with all of these middle sections. Then we have another layer of sea lanterns that lines up with the wooden ones. So then the next one is going to go over here, and then the next one's going to go over here. It's basically going to be diagonal lines of sea lanterns going right the way across this build, which is going to use a huge quantity of them. A huge quantity of them. So I have no idea how many diamonds this is going to cost me, but in theory, by the end of it, it should end up looking pretty cool. It is now early morning on the next day. Unfortunately, I had to stop recording yesterday because my tooth began hurting far too much. And I've got a bit of news for you. I've actually booked in my root canal treatment. Turns out that there is a 3-week waiting list because the specialist only works 2 days a week in typical specialist fashion, which means that I have got 3 weeks of this agony before I go through more agony before it's completely sorted out, which isn't particularly good. But as you can see, all of the sea lanterns are in place. I didn't actually have to buy some more. I had a bunch of them left over in my base. So this thing is looking absolutely stonking beautiful, if you're asking me. It is nice and light. There are no mobs spawning in here anymore. And I actually think that these sea lanterns go much better with the other blocks than glowstone or even potentially redstone lamps would have done. It really does fit the appeal of this area right here. So now we can finally start work on some of your community builds. There have been some hilarious suggestions. I don't know how many I'm going to build in today's episode, but I'm going to try my best to get down to business. So the first community build we're going to be working on is My Tooth with a Drill, which is very fitting for today's episode of Hermitcraft. So I think the first thing I'm going to have to go and gather up is some bone blocks. And even though I feel like we have quite a few up in the drone, I just want to take a look down at the skeleton grinder, because I seem to remember there are a bunch of items in the chest down at the bottom here. Now I have to say, I haven't really done too much with the storage of this area. Let's take a look down the bottom. Yes, that is what I like to see. We have got a bunch of bones in there, and bone blocks are quite cheap. We've got plenty. This tooth can be massive. So I do believe I should have everything I need to build this thing in my inventory. I've got a bunch of bone blocks for the tooth. I've got some iron blocks for the drill. I've got some redstone to do the redstone mechanism in the drill. Now it is time to build the tooth itself. Now, I have to say, never really built a tooth in Minecraft before, so I've got some images up on Google Images of what teeth look like, and I'm going to try my best to copy it. It could go one of two ways. It could be absolutely horrendous, or it could be absolutely incredible. So I think I'm going to start things off with the roots, maybe go a couple blocks up like that, and then I'm probably going to start going outwards, and of course, because these are bone blocks, I actually have to place them in the correct direction, because otherwise they look a little bit silly, which is definitely going to add some time to the procedure, but hopefully it should end up looking really very good, and we'll end up with an impressive looking tooth. So I'll give you guys a bit of a progress update once I make a tiny bit more progress, because this is going to be a challenge. You know what I really wish? I wish there was a block rotator in Minecraft. Just a little tool that you can carry with you that looks like a hoe or something like that, and you could just right click on a block and it would rotate it. Would work with pistons, would work with hoppers, pretty much anything. That would be absolutely amazing. But anyway, I think the first half of my tooth has been pretty much completed. This area here is where my cavity is, which is looking very nice indeed. I'm just going to take out the final bit of dirt, and let's pop over to this hillside right here before we get blasted off by that skeleton. and take a look at the outside. You know what? For a first try, that's not bad. I mean, it could definitely do with some work, but if you imagine the same thing on the other side coming down like that, that will look awesome. I'm pretty chuffed with that. Alright, I'm going to keep working on this thing once I go to sleep and stop getting absolutely blasted by this skeleton, and then we can continue work on the gigantic tooth. Just the final few blocks going in now, and I think I've got to go one more on this side, and then we can take out all of the scaffolding once again, and that will be the outer edge done, and also the inside of the two roots as well. And this basically makes the outline of the tooth. So this really is like very important, because of course if this doesn't look correct, then it's not going to look like a tooth. That looks like a tooth, I think. I mean, if I saw that object, I would think it was a tooth. Would I think it was a tooth? I'm gonna say I think that looks like a tooth. Ish. I feel like when we fill out this area, because I'm going to make it slightly 3D, I feel like when we fill out that area, it will look considerably more tooth-like. It's just right now, it's like an outline, and it doesn't look particularly brilliant. Maybe we need to fill in all the blocks. Perhaps I should do that right now, and we'll decide once it's done if it actually looks like a tooth, and if it doesn't, then it can just be renamed to something slightly different. How about that? I know a lot of the recent clips have been a little bit similar, but we're now placing in the final blocks of the outer edge of the tooth, and we're about to find out if it still looks like a tooth, or if it looks more like a tooth now that we've filled in all of the edges. Here it goes. That looks mega. Wow, for my first try, that is a good tooth. I mean, seriously, that is an awesome, awesome tooth I have created right there. I'm impressed with myself. For once, I've actually done something that looks okay. And it fits in nicely within the community builds area. Now what we have to do is we need to build the drill that goes up at the top, that is going to be taking out that root canal right there, that cavity that needs to be taken out. We are going to build the drill that is going to be doing it, which should end up looking pretty cool. And then that will be everything completed. I can't get over how cool that looks. That is a tooth. That is by definition a tooth. No doubt about it. I think that should just about do it. We've got some sticky pistons up at the top, and then when we power this, they extend downwards and they drill into the tooth, and that is signified by our redstone lamps turning on. And then when we break the redstone torch, obviously everything retracts and it stops doing the drilling. Nice! I would say that looks, I mean, that's about as good as it's going to get, isn't it? Let's face it, this is Minecraft. We can't go too crazy with this thing. I'm pretty chuffed with that, so let's do some extra decoration, make sure that this does actually look like a drill, and then we can work out how we're actually going to power this thing from down at the bottom. It could be a bit of a challenge. I have worked out a way to get the redstone signal from the bottom to the top. It's really quite obvious. I'm quite surprised I didn't come up with it earlier, and that is to run it up through the inside of the tooth. So we should be almost there now. If we place a block and then a redstone torch here, that's not quite going to make it, but I think that will be okay, because then we place another block. No, the redstone torch is going to be in line with these, so we're going to have to do that again. Redstone torch there, a block, and then a redstone torch on this one, and there's no winning here! What on earth am I meant to do? This is actually a little bit frustrating. We may have to... We could power that one, but we can't even power that one. I genuinely don't know what to do right here. If we place a redstone torch right here, obviously that will be in line, but it will also power this redstone lamp, which isn't particularly good. So I guess we could place the redstone torch on this side, and then have the block there. And no, that's still not going to do it, because then it will be exposed. Oh my word, this is a bit of a challenge. After quite a bit of head scratching, I think I finally worked it out. Yes, and then we have the bone block right there. And there we go. Right, we can connect up all of the redstone, and if we pop down to the bottom and take out all of my scaffolding and then flick the lever down there, in theory we should see that our drill will extend. Which it has. I mean, you really can't see it from down the bottom here. And out the back, not too much is visible. because that's where all of the redstone is. But if we were to go over there, I'm sure it would look really very cool. So I would say that project is completed. I know it's a little bit rough around the edges, and it could probably be improved at some point. If it wasn't so close to the edge of the community builds area, that would work a lot better. But I think it's cool, and I think it's a fun build. So let's crack on with the next one. We're going to be doing one more community build in today's episode. So the next community build that we're going to be working on is a gigantic toilet that we can launch ourselves into. That's basically the plan, and it's going to be massive. I mean, I'm going to try my best to make this thing absolutely huge, and it should end up looking pretty cool. I've built a few toilets in my time on Minecraft, and I reckon I'll be able to do a decent job on this one. And if you're wondering what I'm doing right now, this is actually how I officially get into the community builds area. We really need to build an entrance to this place. Okay, so far, I do believe our bowl is done, and blimey O'Reilly, is this thing big. And I'm very happy with how I've managed to fit this in this area right here. Let's just chuck in the final few blocks. I'm excited to see how this looks. I am excited to see how this looks. I'm thinking about adding bone blocks around the top, just to give it that sort of, I don't know, toilet lid look. I don't really know. But let's just pop down to the bottom and see how ridiculous this thing is. That was the worst Elytra flight ever, by the way. But that's a toilet! Full on! Oh! We've just lost half our hillside, but I don't even care, because that looks awesome! Wow. I'm a professional toilet builder. There's no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. That is a good toilet. I'm going to go to bed, and then I'm going to come back, and we're going to do the rest of this build. I cannot wait to see how this thing ends up. Now, I'll be honest, guys, I didn't do too many progress updates during that build, and I do apologise for that. But the reason for it is because I was way too into it. I know that sounds really strange, but I was just so focused on building a toilet that I forgot to record the clips. Which may sound bonkers, but then you have to remember, you're watching Mumbo Jumbo. He may be 20 years old, okay, but at heart, he's still about 9 years old. Alright, so let's take a look at the toilet itself. I've just fallen through the hole in the drone, and there it is. I mean, there is our toilet. Let's take a look at it from a distance over here. That looks amazing. Let's fly in. Yes, let's drop ourselves into it. There it is. The gigantic toilet of Mumbo Jumbo's base. I guess this is the new Mumbo Jumbo. I mean, we had it in Hermitcraft Series 3. That was the name of my base. Maybe that is the Mumbo Jum Toilet Bowl. That's basically what we're going to be calling this thing. But anyway, if we take a look at it from up here, that thing's huge. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. So we've got a gigantic tooth, and we also have a massive toilet. I think I'm going to fill the surrounding area with a few of the smaller suggested builds, because I want to completely fill up this place with various different things, just bits and pieces. We're going to make it very cluttered, very compact, but it should end up looking really quite cool. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I've got time for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.